There is a power within you capable of completely transforming your life, and perhaps no one has ever taught you how to access it. But today, you will learn that the greatest secret lies not in the external world, but in how you organize, train, and direct your own brain. Pause for a moment and reflect. If you had learned from childhood how to manage your mind, your emotions, and your thoughts, how much pain could you have avoided, and how many extraordinary results would you have already achieved? Emotional intelligence is not just a beautiful theory. It is the secret code that separates those who merely survive from those who thrive in any circumstance. Because those who master their emotions do not become hostages to what they feel, but become the owners of their own story. The brain is the most powerful machine in existence, a complex structure with billions of connections that regulate every choice, every impulse, and every reaction. Yet most people go through life without ever learning to use it consciously. The truth is that emotional intelligence means programming your brain for the future you desire, instead of letting it remain trapped in traumas, criticisms, and patterns that keep you stagnant. When you can't handle criticism, when everything seems to shake you, it's not weakness. It's merely a sign that your brain has been trained to operate at a lower frequency. The way out is to learn how to raise the level. If you elevate your mental frequency, what once seemed unbearable simply loses its power over you, because your mind stops reacting on autopilot and begins to respond according to the vision of the future you've chosen. Fighting negative thoughts with just theory is futile. You need to create new pathways in your brain, and this is done through awareness, repetition, and daily practice until the impossible becomes natural. You carry within you true neural islands, dormant areas that only activate when you expose yourself to new challenges, like the island of wealth, communication, creativity, or influence. Many people never visit these regions because they spend their lives repeating the same habits, surrounded by the same ideas, trapped in environments that reinforce the same limiting patterns. Here's a practical tip. If you want to expand your emotional intelligence, start by changing your environment. Seek different references. Connect with people who live at the frequency you want to achieve. Environments shape brains, and if you remain surrounded by scarcity, criticism, and mediocrity, your mind tends to replicate those patterns as if they were the only possible reality. But when you immerse yourself in contexts of excellence, your mind activates previously unknown regions, and you discover that you are capable of far more than you ever imagined. Emotional intelligence is not about suppressing feelings or pretending nothing is happening. It's about learning to decide how you will react to circumstances, choosing responses that bring you closer to the future you want. We've all felt anger, frustration, and even destructive impulses, but what sets emotionally intelligent people apart is their ability to recognize these impulses and redirect them towards something productive. When you understand this, you stop being a prisoner of what you feel and start using your emotions as fuel for growth, rather than a prison that paralyzes you. This is only possible by following 4 fundamental steps. First, create awareness. Then, practice detachment. Next, reframe experiences. And finally, repeat progressively until the new pattern is solidified. Awareness is light. It's realizing you have choices and don't need to keep reacting the same way. Detachment is letting go of the weight of the past, stopping the belief that you owe something to someone or something, and freeing yourself from the need to repeat old pains. Reframing is giving new meaning to experiences, turning scars into lessons and mistakes into opportunities for growth. Progressive repetition is what ingrains the new reality in your brain, because the mind only accepts what is consistently practiced until it becomes natural. Your brain doesn't reject anything. It simply follows the commands you reinforce every day. That's why habits are more powerful than desires. They reprogram the mind at the deepest level. When you face a difficult situation, it doesn't mean you're doomed. It simply means you're facing something you haven't yet mastered. The challenge is the perfect opportunity to expand your emotional intelligence. So, never say you don't like something before trying to master it, because often your brain is just saying, I don't know how to handle this yet, but I can learn. The great trap is that your brain tends not to trust you if you always start something and give up halfway. It recognizes patterns and regulates itself based on your discipline. If you make promises and don't follow through, your mind learns it's not worth expending energy on your projects, which weakens your self-confidence. But if you fulfill small commitments, your brain starts to believe in you. Here's a powerful practice: set small daily goals and achieve each one, even if they seem simple. This builds a track record of victories that strengthens your self-confidence. Your brain works in systems, and everything that seems impossible today only becomes achievable when you build it step by step, respecting the process. This applies to money, relationships, and careers, because if you don't master the basics, your mind can't believe in bigger results. But the beauty lies in knowing that with training, anyone can expand their emotional intelligence and completely reprogram how they perceive and react to the world. The key is understanding that environments shape mindsets, and changing the place where you feed your ideas can accelerate your transformation more than any theory. If you only surround yourself with people who reinforce limitations, it spreads like a virus. But if you choose to walk with those who think big, your mind will inevitably be infected by that greatness. Emotional intelligence grows when you decide to face new challenges, not to compete or prove something to others, but to become bigger than your circumstances and serve as an example for those still trapped. Never waste energy on feelings of anger, envy, or resentment, because all energy can be transformed into fuel for growth if you know how to channel it. That's why people in environments of excellence develop higher standards of discipline, cleanliness, organization, and productivity, while careless environments tend to reinforce disorder and complacency. In Japan, the streets are clean even without trash cans, not because they don't produce waste, but because they've developed a collective mindset of responsibility. This shows how malleable the human brain is to the culture surrounding it. The question remains, what mindset are you allowing to shape your life? The mindset of the environment that traps you, or the mindset of the future you want to create? Emotional intelligence is the key to breaking this cycle and consciously choosing what will govern your life, instead of merely repeating the patterns of the place where you were born or the people around you. You can train your mind to resist criticism, thrive amid difficulties, and see opportunities where others only see problems. And the great news is that you can start today, creating awareness of your patterns, detaching from what no longer serves you, reframing your experiences, and repeating daily what you want to solidify. Emotional intelligence is what transforms weakness into strength, pain into wisdom, and obstacles into stepping stones that take you higher. Take this as an undeniable truth. Your life doesn't change because you wait. It changes when you decide to reprogram your mind to live at the next level. If you apply these principles, not only will your life transform, but you will become a living example that it's possible to break any cycle and build a new reality from within. Your brain is the most powerful tool you've been given, and when your soul aligns with your vision of the future, there is no limit to what you can achieve. The decision is in your hands, and the time is now. Rewire your mind, awaken your emotional intelligence, and choose to live the life you were born to live. Imagine if you held the key to controlling your mind, your emotions, and your reactions to life. What would your journey look like if you could consciously choose when to feel peace, when to regain focus, and when to transform anger into creative energy? And what if I told you this isn't a fantasy but applied science? Would you believe you're much closer than you think to completely changing the way you live? Pause for a moment and realize that as you read this, your brain is receiving thousands of pieces of information. The way it organizes this information determines not only what you think, but also how you feel and how you act. Understanding this process is like decoding the code to your own life. The truth is, most people live as hostages to their own emotions, believing they're uncontrollable. But neuroscience has shown that the brain has self-regulation mechanisms, and when we learn to access them, we start living at a much higher level of clarity, balance, and purpose. Have you ever noticed how, on some days, your mind feels at peace and you can solve problems calmly, but on other days, the smallest thing is enough to throw you off balance? This happens because the brain has alert systems like the amygdala, which reacts quickly to any perceived threat. When we let this area dominate, we end up living in constant tension. But there's a way out, and it lies in strengthening your emotional intelligence. The ability to recognize your emotions, understand them, and consciously redirect them so you're not their slave, but the commander of your inner world. Science proves that when you train your brain to identify emotional patterns, you create new neural pathways. These pathways become like paved trails that guide your thoughts and feelings in a healthier way, meaning you can literally reprogram your mind. A simple example. When you feel anxious, your breathing changes, your heart races, and your muscles tense. But if, in that moment, you apply a conscious breathing technique, you send signals to your brain that there's no real danger. Within minutes, your physiology begins to shift, bringing back calm. This isn't just theory, it's practice. It's applied science. You can start right now by experimenting with deep breathing for a few minutes whenever you feel your emotions are about to take over. This is how you begin to gain mastery over yourself. Another practical tip is to train your brain to ask, in the face of any intense emotion, what exactly am I feeling, and what is this emotion trying to show me? Emotions aren't enemies, they're signals, messages that need to be heard. When you learn to listen to them without judgment, you begin to grow. Often, anger is trying to show that something has crossed an unacceptable boundary. Sadness may reveal a void that needs filling. Anxiety might indicate you're projecting into the future without living in the present. When you understand this, every emotion becomes an opportunity for self-awareness. You might be wondering, is it really possible to train my brain to completely change how I react? The answer is yes, because the brain is plastic. It changes, it rebuilds, it forms new connections all the time. When you commit to conscious practices, you literally reshape your mind. Neuroscience studies show that people who practice meditation, deep breathing, or even daily gratitude exercises experience real changes in brain structure, increasing areas linked to self-control and reducing those associated with stress. This means the power to transform lies within you. It's not about denying emotions, but learning to manage them. When you deny them, you repress, and what's repressed becomes a burden. But when you acknowledge and redirect, what was once an obstacle becomes fuel for your growth. The question you need to ask yourself is, will I keep living as a hostage to my emotions, or will I learn to be their master? This choice defines not only your quality of life, but also your health, relationships, and even professional achievements. Every time you choose to breathe, reflect, and respond consciously instead of reacting automatically, you strengthen your brain. You build a new version of yourself. You pave a path to emotional freedom that no one can take away. Imagine what your life would be like if, instead of exploding in an argument, you could stay calm and firm. If, instead of drowning in anxiety, you had the clarity to act strategically. If, instead of being paralyzed by fear, you used its energy to prepare better. This is the power within your reach. If you've made it this far, know that this is just the beginning of a trilogy of transformation. In the next chapters, you'll discover how to deepen this mastery over your mind and align your thoughts, emotions, and actions to create the life you've always desired. Your brain is the most powerful tool in the known universe, but it needs training, direction, and you as its commander. From now on, you have the first keys to start this journey. So, choose today to stop being a hostage to circumstances and become the architect of your emotions. The future belongs to those who decide to take control of their own minds. And you're about to discover how far you can go when you unleash the infinite potential within you. Have you ever noticed how often you cling to things, situations, or people that no longer make sense in your life, yet you insist on carrying them within you, as if they were part of your identity, without realizing that this weight is actually holding you back from moving forward? The truth is, the human brain forms strong emotional connections, and no matter how painful they are, the mind prefers the familiar over the unknown. That's why you stay trapped in memories, grudges, and objects that no longer serve a purpose, believing that by holding on to them, you're preserving something valuable, when in reality, you're just keeping yourself tied to the past. How many times have you kept things in your home that you haven't used in ages, clothes that no longer fit, papers that serve no purpose, but you hold on to them because you think you might need them someday? In truth, Each of these objects takes up not only physical space, but also mental and emotional space. Attachment isn't just about material things. It shows up in relationships too, when you insist on staying close to people who no longer add value to your journey, but whom you lack the courage to let go of, fearing the emptiness that might follow. What you don't realize is that this emptiness is exactly the space needed for something new to enter. The same happens with feelings you insist on carrying, like resentment, guilt, or bitterness, believing you're punishing those who hurt you. In reality, the only one being punished is you, because every time you relive that scene, your brain releases the same chemical surges of pain, stress, and anguish, as if you were experiencing it all over again. Neuroscience shows that forgiveness is not just a spiritual or moral act, but a true tool for neurological liberation. When you forgive, you break the cycle of painful memories and allow your brain to form new connections, releasing hormones that bring peace, clarity, and well-being. Forgiving doesn't mean forgetting or allowing someone to repeat their mistakes against you. It means choosing not to carry that emotional weight anymore, because you've realized your energy is too valuable to waste on memories that no longer change anything. Here's a crucial point. Attachment to the past is a silent thief that steals your present and blinds you to the opportunities right in front of you. While your mind is occupied with what's gone, you can't see what can be built now. It's like trying to fill a glass that's already full. No matter how much water you pour, it will always overflow because there's no room. That's exactly what happens when you cling to memories, grudges, and objects that should no longer be inside you. If you truly want to transform your life, you need the courage to empty the glass, to make space, to let go of what no longer serves you. This starts with small, practical actions that seem simple but carry immense power for the mind. Try opening a closet and removing everything you haven't used in over a year. Donate it, discard it, let it go. Notice how this physical act immediately creates a sense of mental lightness, because your brain understands there's room for something new, activating circuits of motivation and creativity. Then, do the same with your emotions. Write down on a piece of paper everything you're carrying, pain, grudges, resentment, and when you're done, burn or tear it up as a symbolic act of liberation. The brain needs rituals to solidify new behaviors, and this simple gesture sends the message that you're no longer trapped in the past. Now go further. Practice forgiveness, not just for those who hurt you, but also for yourself. Often you blame yourself for past mistakes, and that guilt becomes a mental prison that drains your energy every day, preventing you from moving toward the life you truly want to live. Understand that every mistake was just a lesson, and without them, you wouldn't have the wisdom you possess today. So instead of punishing yourself for what you did or didn't do, choose to look forward with gratitude for the lessons and determination not to repeat the same patterns. Each day you let go of something that no longer serves you, you become lighter, freer, and more prepared to receive what the universe, God, or life has in store for you, because now there's space for the new to flourish. It's not easy, I know. Your mind will resist, trying to convince you that you need to hold on, that you can't let go. But that's exactly the sign that you're on the verge of breaking a chain that's been holding you back for years. And when you break it, you'll realize that letting go isn't loss, it's gain. You'll discover you never needed those things to be whole, and that the true strength was inside you all along. Liberation starts within. And when you're light on the inside, the world around you begins to change. Your energy shifts, your choices change, and the way you see life transforms. Today, you have the chance to take that step, to release what no longer serves you, to forgive what's behind you, and to make space for a future far greater than any memory of the past. And always remember, holding on to what hurts isn't protection, it's a prison. But letting go is courage, maturity, and wisdom, and that's what will lead you to the life you've always dreamed of.